Adolf had cut himself off from Kubizek, from everything that reminded him of Linz and home. His feeling for Kubizek was not as strong as Gustul's for him. As far as Hitler was concerned, their relationship had run its course, at least for the time being. Moreover, Gustul had succeeded and he had failed. He celebrated his 20th birthday alone on April 20th, 1909, in the forbidding building on the Felberstrasse. Month after month he endured the cheerless surroundings, continuing the dream life he had led in Linz. He lived a quiet, solitary existence, rarely breaking out of his isolation. His neighbours remembered only that he was polite and distant. The cashier of a nearby restaurant, the Café Kubata, however, was deeply impressed by Hitler, because he was very reserved and quiet, and would read books and seemed very serious, unlike the rest of the young men. She esteemed him so highly that she always gave Dolfel an extra-large portion of Mehlspeisen, a meatless flour-based dish. By late summer, Hitler had to face another crisis. Except for the 25 kronen a month pension, he had reached the end of his resources. He moved from the Felberstrasse to a smaller building on the south side of the Westbahnhof. The address was Sechshauserstrasse 58, and he occupied another small room, number 21. It was just about as noisy as the last place, with the streetcars running down the narrow street. On August 22nd, Hitler registered his change of address at the police station, this time listing himself as writer. But in less than a month he left this last refuge of respectability and disappeared into the underworld of poverty. He left behind no word, and on his police form there was a blank for future address, and unknown marked the question, when moved out. Without funds and unable or unwilling to work, he wandered for the next 3 months a tramp. He slept in parks and doorways. For a time his home was a bench in the Prater, the famed amusement centre on the other side of the Danube, and in rain he found refuge under the arches of the rotunda, using a jacket as pillow. Winter came early that year, and by late October 1909 he was forced to find refuge indoors. He slept in bars, in dingy rooms, in cheap flophouses, in a coffee-house on the Kaiserstrasse, in the crowded warming room on Erdbergstrasse, established by a Jewish philanthropist. Once he found a strange shelter in a labourer's barracks, a dirty refuge that had to be shared with other homeless people. He could not sleep for the fetid air and the constant noise of crying children, or of some drunk beating his wife. "Even now I shudder," he later wrote, "when I think of those pitiful dens, the shelters and lodging-houses, those sinister pictures of dirt and repugnant filth, and worse still. Vienna, which had once been an enchantment out of the 1001 Nights, had been transformed into a jungle of misery and represented, I am sorry to say, merely the living memory of the saddest period of my life." He turned to the church for help, and would queue up mornings at 9 at the convent near his old room on the Stumpergasse for soup. To tramps this was calling on Katya, because it was either the name of the Mother Superior or that of St. Katharina's convent itself. By late fall he had sold most of his clothes, including his black winter overcoat, and so the snow and cold drove him to further humiliation. Huddled in a light jacket late one afternoon just before Christmas, he trudged all the way to Meidling in the outskirts of town. It took 2.5 hours to reach his destination, the Asyl für Obdachlose, a shelter for the destitute, and by the time he arrived he was exhausted, his feet sore. Run by a philanthropic society whose principal supporter was the Epstein family, it was originally constructed in 1870 and had been extensively rebuilt and reopened the year before. Here, for a modest fee, the homeless, including entire families, were accommodated. Each physically able occupant was expected to help in the housework or tend the grounds. It was a large, modernized structure, sitting alone in a large open field. Its